Welcome, parents. It is 3:33 and we have a number, 171 families online at the moment. Obviously, there's a possible 234, but I do want to make a start because it is 3:30 and we said we would begin then. It's just a little bit after. Hope your daughters have managed to get home. We released them a little bit early. Didn't want to do too early because obviously there's been a lot of disruption to learning these past years. So a very warm welcome to you. Those that don't know me, I am Miss Noon. I'm the head teacher here at St. Philomena's, and it gives me great pleasure to be able to spend some time with you this evening, albeit remotely. I would much rather and preferred to have welcomed you to the school in person, but sadly, with the guidance as it is, that was not possible. So I am very sorry that we've been unable to do that. But I do feel confident we still will be able to ensure that you and your daughters are well versed and prepared in the process that is about to take place, known as the transition to Key Stage 4, the options process. So I'd like to begin, as we do with all our meetings, a prayer to ask that the Holy Spirit guides you as a family in this decision-making and discernment process. So if I could invite you to make the sign of the cross in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Lord, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom and support as we begin the options process. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make these decisions and continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth, for the greater glory of you, and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. And we have to remind ourselves that what we're doing here today and the choices that we're making, it's not just choices for a better life for ourselves and a process that just we will benefit from, but it's also about a process where we can be of true service to each other and to make our world a better place. So we start this process in the spring term. Your daughters will complete the process of Key Stage 4 GCSEs in 2024. That's when they will be awarded those qualifications. And then in 2026, they'll be awarded A-level or their vocational qualifications or a combination of both. And it is worth saying that the phase that your daughter is entering into is the 14 to 19 phase of education. Two shorter key stages, Key Stage 4 and 5, shorter than Key Stage 3, 18 months in length. And both key stages have a process of linear examinations, which means they start the process, but it is not modular, it's not unit-based, it is linear, which means that they will be examined at the end of that 18-month period. So an exciting phase for your daughters as they start to discern choices and make decisions about their future and what it is that they would like to particularly study according to their ability, but also their interests, their passions, and their future career ambitions. So I'm hoping that by the end of this afternoon, this evening, you should understand the transition programme from Year 9 into Year 10 over the next 2 terms, and also the curriculum pathways that are on offer and how your daughter's current flight path in terms of her ability, her prior attainment, how the curriculum pathway is linked to that flight path so that there is success. You'll have the opportunity to discuss the options and the pathways with different subject areas, up to a total of 8 you can go in and visit this afternoon. The staff are present, mainly the head of department and other staff. They can take questions in the chat and they can also present their subject to you. The rationale for the curriculum is we've really reviewed it each year. It's not the same offer, and there are aspects of it that are similar, but we look at the year group. The offer tries to meet the needs of a diverse student population. It's broad and balanced. It supports languages as well as the arts. It supports EBACC and non-EBACC. So what I'm trying to say is that there is something for everybody. I'm hoping that by the end of this process, your daughter feels confident and happy with her choices, and she feels that she's not compromised in any way. She's got a good balance of core and options, and she also hopefully has a number of different pathways that she can lead on to, so that can help really secure post-16 and post-18 choices. Want to share with you the overarching qualification, in case you're not aware of this terminology. The EBACC is the shortened term and the acronym that's known for the English Baccalaureate. I've put across the screen in blue the 5 subjects, what are known as those facilitating subjects, that your daughter would have to secure at least a grade 5 in each of those subjects in order to achieve that overarching qualification. In English, it's in language and literature, and all of the pathways, all of the girls will study both Englishes. Maths, science is combined science or the triple science, either 2 or 3. And computer science also falls into that EBACC qualification. And they need to have 2 or 3 GCSEs in that. Languages, either a modern foreign language or an ancient language, and humanities. History or geography, I have campaigned and lobbied for RE to be included in that, but unfortunately it is not. So RE in our Catholic school forms part of the core curriculum. Every young person will follow GCSE RE. So the government have a very clear aim about the number of young people that should follow or try and secure this pathway. And by 2025, the majority of our young people at Key Stage 4, and then some of those subjects in that blue also post-18 form part of what's called the facilitating subjects at university. So take some time to have a look at that slide. And if your daughter would like any further information, she can see her learning lead, Mrs. Panay, or she can speak with any of those heads of department or staff in those subject areas. The agenda for this year in terms of the education, it's still a very difficult time for our young people. Fortunately, we have not had to close our school. We've been able to continue our full offer, which I'm delighted about this year, this academic year, 2021-22. But some of your daughters have been working at home because they've either contracted COVID and have been well and able to work, or they've been at home and they've been ill. And that is difficult. And year 7 and year 8 have been impacted. There is still uncertainty around exams. At the moment, the January exams are happening and they're taking place. And the resit examinations took place in November for our post-16 students in maths and English. Their results are being published tomorrow. There is a BTEC review underway with the government at the moment. And there is the introduction of T-levels in September. Our school will be offering the health pathway and business and administration from 2023. So each year we need to look at that education agenda and how it impacts our young people in terms of them sitting their exams at that time and that space. Progress will be measured in different ways. The government have very clear measures, and these are the ones that I share with you. Progress 8 is the value added in, so how well your daughter does in 8 of her best subjects. And the subjects they list for us: English and maths, humanities, and then our open bucket or pathway. Attainment 8 is the final grades that she's secured. Grades 9 to 5 are considered a strong pass, and grades 9 to 4 are considered a standard pass. There is the need for all of our young people to try and secure a standard pass, which is grade 4 or higher, in English language and maths up until 18 years of age. We try and ensure that our young people secure it at GCSE, so up at age 16. But if that isn't viable for whatever reason, then they have to continue studying it in the 6th form. And in order to secure the EBACC, a strong pass is needed in a number of qualifying subjects. Just to reiterate that GCSE grades awarded are they're numerical. It's no longer alphabetical. And that has been the case for a number of years. A-level is still alphabetical grades A star to E. So just to kind of give you some kind of comparison to the old alphabetical grades compared with the existing numerical grades, the grade 4-5, the strong standard pass, is equivalent to the sort of previous grade C. And grade 9, because there used to only be 8 grades on the alphabetical grades, the grade 9 is like a star. And I've already mentioned about continuing to study English and maths if your daughter has not secured at least a grade 4. Just to give and highlight some changes to maths, just to say that the volume of the subject has increased, the demand has increased. There's 2 levels of maths that can be studied, higher and foundation. In total, there are 3 subjects that have a tier of entry. Maths has a tier of entry, science has a tier of entry, and languages have a tier of entry. Students are required to memorise formulae. They no longer receive it going into the exam or as part of the paper. This year, as an addendum to COVID and the reintroduction of exams post-COVID, they will provide formulae. But moving forward, and in the past, that was not the case. Our young people will sit 3 papers of maths. It used to be 2. The exam has increased from 3.5 hours to 4.5 hours. And there is a greater emphasis on problem solving and reason and application of knowledge. So that is quite a demanding GCSE. GCSE language, there are 2 papers, 2 exams for that language paper. Each is 1 hour and 45 minutes. There is a spoken assessment, but it does not provide any weighting in that final exam. There is no tier of entry. Everybody sits the same paper. And there is a lot of unseen text that could appear in the exam. So it's really important that your daughter is reading and reading a wide range of genre. 20% of the overall grades in the exam are given across to spelling, punctuation and grammar. And there is a greater emphasis on the assessment objective A04, which is about evaluating text critically. So not just knowing it, but to having a great understanding of it and being able to really evaluate, question and put forward arguments for why this is the way that it is, or the perception that you believe it to be. The English literature has the controlled assessment part, so the coursework has been discontinued, and there is a big focus on British authors as per the national curriculum. In year 10, they follow more skills-based, and in year 11, it's more knowledge-based. Year 10, they look at the English language GCSE, and year 11, the English literature GCSE. Little word around the sciences. Your daughter can study either combined science or what's called the separate sciences, formerly known as triple science. They all begin on the same pathway, and then at the end of year 10, that decision is made as to whether to follow the triple, the separate sciences, or the combined. Again, there's a tier of entry, foundation or higher. If your daughter is doing the tier of entry, if your daughter's following the separate sciences, the triple science, then the tier of entry is likely to be higher. If she is doing the combined science, it could be higher or foundation. None of the tier of entry final decisions are made until the spring term of year 11. So there is plenty of time before that final decision is made. Just want to really share with you the benefits of studying a language. I've listed many there, but I just want to take you to the last point about perhaps university in the future may request study of a language or favour study of a language and a qualification in a language. And I've shared with you there from the Cultural Learning Alliance the benefits of studying the arts. And with the arts, I include music, I include PE and the sports, I include drama. And so, you know, there is a huge as well as obviously art and the design technology subjects. There is a huge offer in terms of the arts. The arts are increasingly linked to young people's well-being and passions and love of subjects. I'm not saying that none of the other subjects can provide that as well, but the offer that we put forward favours the languages and arts equally. So if your daughter wanted to do a language and, you know, 2 arts as well as the humanities, that is possible. I share with you the pillars of our curriculum. All of our curriculum is rooted in our ethos and faith. And that's that very foundation of what our real passion here at St. Philomena's is. And it's not just really what we fundamentally believe, but it's also how we live our lives. And our curriculum should meet the needs of all our young people, irrespective of their ability, whether they have an additional learning need, whether they have an economic and financial barrier to learning, whether they're very able, or whether English is an additional language. And through that broad and balanced taught curriculum, those timetabled lessons, as well as perhaps any additional learning, any extracurricular, digital learning, PSHE, your daughter should be able to develop her skills of oral communication, teamwork, creativity, organisation, so that she leaves as an adult, age 18, leaves St. Philomena's and our sixth form very equipped for the demands of global living and the world in which we live. Your daughter can choose 4 options, and the curriculum offer is very flexible. There are a number of subjects in different blocks. As I said, it supports the arts and the languages and the humanities, but more importantly, we want to really future-proof it for post-16, post-18, so that she's not disadvantaged for something that she's chosen in year 9, but actually her options are open for when she reaches age 19 and is making and attending university, first year of university. I'm going to pass to Mrs. Panay. Mrs. Panay is your daughter's learning lead. She's going to take you through that PSHE programme and that support. Following Mrs. Panay will be Mr. Donegan. Mr. Donegan will take you through the actual process of making those choices and the different pathways that are on offer. And then lastly, Mr. Newman will say a little bit about the sixth form and the sixth form offer. It's really appropriate that we do that because obviously the choices that we make now may impact post-16 and post-18. So I will come back on at the end to conclude with some closing remarks. But if I pass to Mrs. Panay now, and thank you, parents, for your time this afternoon.
Welcome, everyone. As Miss Noon said, I'm Mrs. Panay. I'm Year 9's learning lead. The Year 9 options process is a challenging one. And while some students may find it easy to make their final choices, others may find it difficult to make the important decisions about their pathways and courses. Year 9, you're probably asking yourselves right now, how will I decide which pathway is right for me? How will I choose which subjects I want to study? Who will help me with this decision? Try not to worry. I'm here to tell you all about how school will be supporting you through this process over the next term. What are the aims of the options programme? The aims are, firstly, we want to raise aspirations. We want students to be ambitious and to set themselves high goals. We want to help students consider their long-term future as well as what to do next. We want to motivate individuals to make the most of their education and training opportunities. We want to work in partnership with parents and carers to ensure students make the right decisions for themselves. And finally, to equip Year 9 with the skills to manage future decisions and transitions. How do we support Year 9? We do this firstly through our PSHEC programme, our pastoral programme. This term's PSHEC programme is dedicated to careers and the options process in order to support and guide students through the process step by step. Last week, we started this process and students were introduced to an online careers program called QDOS, which we will continue to work on in the next few weeks. Guided by their tutors, they have created individual accounts, carried out a questionnaire, and have started to research careers ideas and that have been recommended to them by the programme. Next half term, they will also be introduced to a programme called Unifrog, another online careers programme that helps them to research courses, universities, and other qualifications. This will also be an opportunity for students to ask advice from both their form tutors and their peers about which pathway and subjects are right for them. So a little more about QDOS. QDOS is an online programme designed for students aged 13 to 19. It enables students to explore their potential through a personalised experience based on their interests and aspirations. Students can discover new ideas, understand which careers best suit them, and uncover how what they are learning in school links to future opportunities and their career destination. They have all created individual accounts and have begun to create their action plans. They can revisit QDOS at any time, change their options, redo their career quizzes by clicking on My Future, and use filters to narrow down the number of careers that they may be interested in. The students can log into QDOS at home, so you can look at the action plans together. I would encourage you to explore this tool with your daughter and offer your guidance as a form of involvement in the process. Unifrog is yet another online tool which the school has bought to assist students in their decision-making regarding post-16 options, sixth form apprenticeships, university, and career choices. Unifrog will be explored during the second half of this term. Unifrog is a one-stop shop for destinations, allowing students to explore every university course, apprenticeship, and college course in the UK, as well as other opportunities around the world, such as European and US undergraduate courses. Students can search for courses by entering their favourite subjects and store their searches. The students can then search courses they may be interested in more detail. By creating shortlists, they can select university courses based on A-level subjects and grades and consider important aspects such as university rankings, location, job market opportunities, postgraduate studies, career progression, among other useful information. So how else can we support you with this decision? All subjects will be holding GCSE taster lessons over the next few weeks to give students a feel for what it is like to be in a GCSE subject, GCSE lesson in that subject. We've also planned several special assemblies for non-Key Stage 3 subjects, so subjects that they're not currently studying. For example, next week we have an assembly on health and social BTEC, led by Miss King, and the week after an assembly on business studies GCSE and business studies BTEC. Next week, computing has also organised for next student to come in and to speak to Year 9 about her experience of an apprenticeship at JP Morgan. Subject staff are also available to help Year 9. Tonight and between now and the options deadline, students have the opportunity to ask their teachers about their subjects, how the subject is taught, how it's assessed, and what the workload is like. So who are the people who can help you? My advice to you, Year 9, would be not to make decisions based on what your friends are going to do, as Mr. Donegan said this morning in our assembly, or who your teacher is this morning, as this may change, who your teacher is this year, as this may change. The people who are best equipped to help you are the people who know you well. These people are your parents or carers, your heads of year, your form tutor, and your subject teachers. Our career advisor, who you met this morning, Mrs. Cretney, and other students currently studying GCSEs in Year 10 and 11 can also help you. There are many useful websites listed on the Curriculum Pathways booklet, so please take the time to explore these. I wish you all the best of luck with choosing your GCSE options, and I am here to help you. Please do not hesitate to come and speak to me if you need any help or support. I'm now going to pass you over to Mr. Donegan, who will explain more about the options process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Panay, and welcome students and welcome parents. I spent an assembly this morning talking to the students and talking them through this process. So hopefully, parents, they will be in a position to support you with any questions that we have as we work our way through the evening. In terms of the timeline, we've started the process for options this morning, and that kicked off with an assembly for students. where essentially I took them through what we are taking you through this evening. We have open evening options evening tonight, and the process, the 8-week process, starts as of tonight and it finishes on the 10th of March. What I would say in that time, as Mrs. Panay has just alluded to, there will be a number of opportunities for you to engage with the school. We have a parent consultation evening on the 2nd of March. And the reason that we have that quite a way into the process is to allow you to gather your thoughts, to reflect on what the options may be, for the students to have those conversations with staff, so that actually once we get to parents' evening, we're all in a much better position and our thinking is a little bit more refined in terms of making those choices. As Ms. Benai say, taster lessons in subjects will take place over the next 5 weeks, and that will occur across the board. And where students don't currently have access to certain subjects, and they tend to be BTEC, health and social care, business and sport, there will be taster sessions and special assemblies running the week of the 20th and the 27th of January. So different pathways. It is a model where the emphasis is on strongly recommend and advise. We need to ensure that we give each and every student the best chance of success. And as Ms. Noon alluded to, that success is from 14 to 19 and 19 onwards. We clearly want students to have the best experience possible. And we must at all times ensure that before students start the GCSEs, that they are on the right and appropriate pathway. It is a process based on dialogue and conversation between the school, the students themselves, and yourselves. And since the assembly this morning, I must have spoken to about 20 students about different options, questions, pathways. So it's good to see that those conversations have started as early as they have. And as I will explain in a minute, there is an increasing focus on flight paths and implications for progression for post-16 and post-18. In terms of the different pathway options, we have 3 pathways. Pathway 1, which is the traditional academic pathway. Pathway 2, which is academic and also incorporates the option to study BTECs. And we have the 3rd pathway, which incorporates options supporting English and maths. The pathways are linked to the flight paths at the bottom of the diagram. So your daughter should be aware of what flight path she is on, and that flight path will then correspond to the pathway above. So for the traditional academic pathway, we would expect students to leave with between 10 and 11 GCSEs, depending on whether they sit triple or combined science. They are expected to follow a humanities subject, and they are expected to study a modern foreign language. This will leave them with 2 options, which should be GCSE options. Pathway 2, students will follow combined science. Humanities remains compulsory, and that leaves them with 3 options, of which one can be a language if they choose. But on this pathway, they're able to choose between GCSEs and BTECs. The 3rd pathway, students will leave and leave this part of their schooling with 9 GCSEs. They will follow a combined science pathway. Humanities is compulsory. There is no compulsory MFL, but one of their options will involve additional English and math support. And I think it's worth saying at this point that pathway 3 is very data driven. So at the moment, Mr. Keane, Ms. Panay, and the rest of the team have identified students who the school feel may benefit from studying this pathway. The next stage of this process is that the school will contact those parents on a one-to-one to arrange meetings. And following those meetings, a decision will be made as to whether this is the appropriate pathway. So it is not a pathway that the students will opt into. Going back to what Ms. Noon said earlier, the purple pathway will obviously lead to an EBACC combination, as will the orange pathway if the students choose to study a modern foreign language. So, quickly recapping, these recommendations are strongly advised, not directed. We want to enter into a into a process of dialogue. We do, though, strongly recommend. This is the second year that we've worked through this model. Last year went very, very well. Science will operate in a slightly different timeline. Decision regarding separate or combined will be made at the end of year 10, and then tier of entry will follow after PPE 2 and PPE 3 in year 11. The studying of humanities subject is compulsory for all subject, irrespective of pathway, but students do have the option of studying history and geography. MFL is compulsory for students on the purple pathway and strongly advised for the orange pathway. And this again is about keeping options as open as possible. And actually, as I said to the students this morning, not making decisions now which narrow what they potentially could do at 16 and 18 and beyond. So purple pathway. This pathway best suits students who are looking to undertake degree courses. In addition to the compulsory subjects, students will study a language and a humanities subject. BTEC options are not available as part of this pathway. And as I said, a decision about separate sciences versus combined sciences will take place from the end of year 10 onwards. The orange pathway, just to recap, is suitable for students who would like the option of doing BTECs with GCSEs. A humanities subject is still compulsory, and they may choose a language. And if they do so, they will still qualify for the EBACC qualification. The green pathway, again, is for a targeted group of students, and it's not a pathway that students will opt into. Prior progress is considered, but it will be a pathway where we feel, along with yourselves and your daughters, that actually one less GCSE and more work in English and maths will lead to better outcomes and better options. It's also worth noting that for all three pathways, if the students achieve and meet the criteria, it does not stop them going on to do anything post 16, provided, as I say, they meet the entrance criteria for different pathways and different subjects. So what's the same? The number of options has remained the same. Group sizes are very, very agreeable. They're as low as 23.6 on average, can be smaller. Many other secondary schools have group sizes in around 30. We will ensure that we have a number of points whereby we can speak to you as parents, that you can ask questions, and that we can work with students. And of course, we're open to answering questions in class and around school whenever students feel that they want something answered. I give you a copy of the option blocks there. Just please note that they are subject to change, that those subjects may not stay in those blocks. But for the purpose of your form, you are to choose one subject from each block. In summary, history and geography are in all blocks. French and Spanish are in all blocks. So when making their choices, I think the students need to start with their options, select their options, and then select history and geography as the fourth choice, and French and Spanish, if appropriate, as the next one. Students are only allowed to study one DT subject, and we've said that students should not choose an arts and textiles, because of the very similar nature of much of the content and the fact that it may narrow, but also for the implications in terms of NEA or coursework and the pressures that puts on them as we work towards a linear exam. Additional maths will be taught in year 11, and students will have the option of applying for this course at the end of year 11 and that at the end of year 10, big pardon, and that will be studied right the way through to year 11. Okay, making your option choices. I think it's appropriate that students now start to think. We have an 8-week window. The advice given to students this morning was to think carefully about this process. The form does not need to be completed tonight. They need to sit down. They need to talk to you. They need to talk to their subject staff. They need to talk to students. They need to reflect on where they want to go. They have access to careers advice and guidance. And I also think that they need to give some thought to what subjects that they may think about choosing to study post GCSEs. Advice from the current GCSE students are that you choose your options and not what your friends are doing. You look at the sixth form subjects. You start with a bigger picture. And I think the message at the moment is to keep this as broad and as balanced as possible. Think about the combination of subjects, how they will complement each other. I talk about the art and the textiles and the overload on very much project or portfolio-based tasks and the need for a variety. And the message is to work hard from day one, as this is the best way to achieve success. In terms of completing the option form, it will be available to you tonight on the website and as part of this presentation. Options will not be able to be changed after the closing date of the 10th of March. As I said to the students this morning, we have deliberately structured this over an 8-week period. We have a number of points where we can work with you in terms of a dialogue, giving you the opportunity to answer questions. We've got taster sessions. We've got careers advice. PSHE at the moment is structured around this process. So what we're asking is that the students give real thought to what they want to choose. And in doing so, once they make their decision and arrive, then the 10th of March will allow us to start putting groups together. It will allow us to deal with staffing. And that way we can ensure that we get the best possible offer for each and every student who is currently in year 9. One other note, if you are choosing GCSE PE, there will be an additional form which identifies the 3 sports, and that is something to do with your NEA and the coursework and the practical element of that course, and that can be obtained from the PE department. I would now like to pass over to Mr. Newman, who is the head of sixth form and the assistant head teacher, and thank you for your time.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this options night. As Mr. Donegan said, I'm head of sixth form. I'm just going to talk for a very few minutes because I think as part of tonight, I just want to put in there part of that consideration in your discernment and your choices. It's not just about year 10 and 11. It is also thinking about year 12, year 13, what we call your post-16 education. And as has already been mentioned, you have 8 weeks to think about that, to think about your options. And I would really strongly recommend that as part of this process, you do look at our sixth form website, which I put a link in this evening, and have a look at perhaps the entry into the sixth form as it currently stands. It does change and is tweaked slightly each year, but you can have a look at perhaps where that direction might be going. So if I just show you, our school is with a school within a school. We have over 300 students in the sixth form, and we offer an incredible range really of subjects. We have 32 subjects on offer in terms of our taught curriculum, as well as lots of optional learning such as our core RE and future pathways, which again, you will have things like that within year 9, year 10 and 11. So that continues. Lots of optional additional learning, so opportunities to do AS, what we call an extended project. And of course, all of that enrichment continues, student leadership, all the clubs, the sport, again, which you're used to. What will be different is the curriculum really, because you'll go from maybe 10, 11 subjects down to 3 if you do 3 A-levels, or possibly even just 1 subject if you choose the new T-level. And I'll mention a bit more about that in a moment. Or perhaps you might do a double BTEC. And again, they are under review. So I wanted to explain a little bit more about that process as well. The landscape at post-16 is moving in a direction towards students taking an academic pathway. So that would be this sort of more traditional 3 A-levels, such as English, history, the sciences, and so on, or choosing what is known as the T-level. So that is something that you might not yet have heard of, but it stands for technical level, and it is the equivalent of 3 A-levels. And the idea is that you will combine in-school learning in a subject such as business or health, and you will do a work placement for 45 days. And the idea is that it then is preparing you for the world of work in a much more comprehensive way. If you know that you want to go into healthcare, or if you want to go into business and industry, it is a much better preparation. So again, as part of your options evening tonight, I will be available online to tell you more about the T-level if that is something that perhaps you would like to know more about, or if you have any general questions about the sixth form, I'm very happy to assist there. The link to our website is here. And again, all the information about entry criteria and how you access sixth form learning is there. This is a list of our current subjects. You can see there we have all of the A-levels. We offer BTECs in business, health and social care, travel and tourism. Again, there is a review going on and their future might not be there by the time you get to sixth form. But again, we will update you as you get nearer. And we will be delivering these T-levels in health and business from 2022 health and 2023 business. So by the time you get to sixth form, that will be an option. I won't dwell too much on this side, but just to show you here, again, a bit like with the year 10 pathways, we have pathways in sixth form. So to study the 3 A-levels, you will need at least 8 GCSEs, and they will need to be passed at a grade 4 or higher. Within that, if you get the 8 GCSEs, you then have to meet these subject-specific entry criteria. So I teach religious studies. To do that, you would need your 8 GCSEs plus at least a 6 in the RE. And that just enables that we will have success and that you'll be able to access the next age and stage when you get to that level. Again, we will guide you through that process when you're in year 11 into the sixth one, but it's just for your research, for you to be aware of. And we have pathways that go all the way down where you can take perhaps BTECs, the T-level, which is 5 GCSEs or more. And we even have a pathway which is called a transition pathway for anyone who perhaps doesn't achieve the 5 GCSEs. We help build that profile. So there is an offer for all students. So tonight, my main message really is to think about those facilitating subjects. What is it that you're thinking of doing perhaps when you leave even the sixth form? Careers? Are you thinking about medicine, veterinary science? Are you thinking about law? All of these different careers and pathways. It would be a shame to get to sixth form and realize perhaps that you didn't have the right GCSEs or the right A-levels. So work backwards. Have a look on UCAS, have a look on the Kudos website, which I know was mentioned earlier. And will you need certain GCSEs? Will you need certain A-levels? And that combination, that basket of qualifications that you are building and choosing over the next few weeks can have that longer term impact. So I'm going to hand now back to Ms. Noon. If there are any further questions, I will be available online, particularly for the T-level, but also any sixth form related questions. And I hope that your decision process is a smooth one and one that is also joyful. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Thank you, Mr. Donegan and Ms. Penney. I just want to really end with some closing remarks. Firstly, just to say that choose your options carefully. Staffing will then be based around those option choices. Please note that there will need to be a viable number of students opting for a course for it to run, but it's rare that I do not ensure that all courses are staffed and are able to be delivered. There is the opportunity of an AS in the purple pathway, AS Sociology. There is an entry requirement for that subject, as well as the flight path in the purple pathway. So please do have a look at that. There are students currently studying it that you can speak with should you want to find out more about it. Based on the choices, I will then try to accommodate all of those choices for September 2022. So come September, there is not the option to change those courses. Classes may be full, the courses will have started, the staffing will have been built around those choices. The option booklet will be emailed to you. It's also available on the school website. This presentation will also be on the website. The Google form will be on the website, and we will also put the PE form on the website as well. If you have any questions for me specifically, you can put them in the chat now, and I will spend a little bit of time answering those. I'm just looking at 2 screens. It's 4:20. We had given until 4:30 in order to complete this presentation. There is an evaluation form there on that link that we would just like your feedback this evening on that. In your daughter's Google Classroom, the Year 9 Google Classroom, there are the codes now to the individual subjects. And you're able from 4:30 to enter up to 8 different subjects, 8 different options for you to find out a little bit more about that option, the types of careers in that option, what it might lead to, where it might go. So I'm just looking at the chat to see if there are any questions. I can't see any questions. I'll give you a few more moments in case anybody would like to add any questions in. But really, that concludes our presentation for this evening. So just a reminder to complete the evaluation form, a reminder that all of the information will be available on the website, and a reminder now that the chance to go and meet those subject teachers and find out more about those subjects is available from 4:30. So it's 20 past. I can see that there's still no further questions in the chat. So I hope that's been very explanatory. And I will just end now this presentation and end by thanking you for your time, thanking you for your cooperation. And hopefully I'll get the chance to invite you back to school, hopefully for the Year 9 Parents' Evening. We're going to hold the Year 11 one, which is on the 26th of January remotely, but after February half term, when the other Parents' Evenings mainly take place, including Year 9, I'm hoping that you'll be able to come into school and we'll be able to meet and have further conversations before the deadline of the 10th of March. Thank you very much. Goodbye.